Crazy story. You just started real estate last year and you've absolutely blown up.
I was in a different industry at the time. I was in the fitness industry and I wanted to transition into something that I had a little bit more freedom and buying back some time. And real estate has always been interesting to me because some clients, every time I've talked to somebody, they were in real estate or they had owned real estate. So I was like, let me be that person.
Since you started, call it 13 months ago, what's been the biggest change in the market in the past 13 months as you started to where we are now?
Like you just mentioned, inventory. I think that's what's been really shifting. But I think that now that people are starting to see the inventory come through, there's more opportunity. So it's kind of shifting into a buyer's market.
What do you think kind of drives the success of your team?
It's mindset, adaptability, and collaboration.
I like all three of those. From a mindset perspective, someone said before, like, you are who your thoughts are.
People tend to look at what qualities a champion has that maybe they don't possess. It's not so much of what they don't have, it's what they lack.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Elliott Caldwell Podcast on Successful DNA. I have my friend here with us, Tito Feliciano. Tito, welcome to the pod.
Appreciate you having me.
Crazy story. You just started real estate as a real estate realtor, give or take, in April of last year, and you've absolutely blown up on social media. Let's go through the last 13 months. It's been crazy. Let's start in April last year. How'd you get into real estate? Let's go through a long story short.
For sure. So, this was, I was in a different industry at the time. I was in the fitness industry. And I wanted to transition into something that I had a little bit more freedom and buying back some time. And real estate has always been interesting to me because some clients, every time I've talked to somebody, they were in real estate or they had owned real estate. So I was like, let me be that person. And when I transitioned, I just kind of hit the ground running. I ended up getting a coach my first week into real estate. He's based out in Miami and kind of helped me with objections and what direction to go into. And I just kind of just put my head down and put in some work.
What was the last April, call it April, May, June, what was the biggest struggle to get started? What was the hardest part?
So two things. One, it was in that transitional phase, if you will, with the whole NAR settlement. Mm-hmm. I joined exactly when that happened. Yeah. And then two, I think the social media aspect of it, right? Where I did not take social media serious as I do now. And I'm very thankful that I did. Just because it's opened up new doors for me. And
then with the NAR settlement, no one really knew at the time. It hasn't been that much of an impact, at least on our end.
No. I think if you can communicate well enough and educate the consumer real well, you're perfectly fine.
In your opinion, is there anything that's changed big besides the buyer agreement? That's the only thing really that has changed.
Essentially, yeah. Like having the exclusive buyer agreement before showing a house, I think that's really the biggest change. As far as compensation and everything else, every client I have yet to have any restriction.
Yeah, and everybody, it was such a big news presence that we can find articles where they ask a question about the buyer's agreement, like, hey, because of the NAR settlement, here's a couple links to it. It was some random news organizations.
For sure.
This is kind of how we have to do things now, and they get it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
April of last year to, I'll call it April of this year, since May is not even over with yet. What's been your biggest month?
Actually, as of recent, this past month, we've been getting a lot of deals under contract. I deal a lot with new construction as well, or new developments. And so even though it may not be a check today, it's building up. So in totality, just this last month alone, we went under contract for just under $7 million.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah. So it's been growing.
And then you'll be on the sell side, and then maybe even hopefully the buy side on the same side.
Yes.
How did you get into the new construction?
So with new construction, I knew I wanted to get with developers. So I've been reaching out to either small developers that are either just building 1 or 2 houses a year, or people who are doing 7 to 10, and then eventually just grew up to connecting with bigger groups. Mm-hmm. And I've just been blessed, honestly.
And how are you finding them?
So various ways. One, it's either through current deals that I'm doing, right? Two, would be connecting one person to another. And social media, I would say as well, has been another thing. We do a lot of cold calls. And when we circle prospect some people, we ended up finding these people who are just trying to offload these deals, and lo and behold, they are unrepresented.
Dude, cold calling is the name of the game. No one's willing to do it. No one's willing to do it.
100%.
We do a ton of that for like our various businesses, and like that, I would say that's one of the top reasons our sales team is successful. Not even on the realty side, but on every other side, because no one's willing to cold call. And so we're one of the only ones cold calling. It leads to clients.
Exactly.
So, so when you say other transactions, you're dealing with a developer, and you're like, hey, any other developers? Is that kind of what you mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, typically, whenever, like, we have right now $6 million of just off-market deals that are new development, either teardowns or, beach access, whatever that comes out to. So now we kind of shift our focus when we do our cold calls. We typically go on a 2-mile radius of that specific property and call, neighbors. And like, hey, listen, we have this property. People typically like to invest within, their neighborhood. Is this something you're willing to do? And if they say no, do you know someone who would? Just by asking that additional question kind of opens up to new opportunities for us, which most people don't do.
And a lot of people, I'm actually excited about talking through this. So a lot of people blame Airbnbs for a lot of like the housing crisis in certain markets, which I think is absolute BS. The root cause of all of our issues is generally throughout the country. Now every market's different, but generally it's not enough supply. There's not enough people building homes.
Agreed.
Is that the case locally or around the Tampa Bay?
I think that there's been more development now, or more proposed developments than ever. And I think that continuous growth kind of is what the excitement in the market in itself. And I think that that's something, I think people really underestimate how big we're really getting.
Mm-hmm. It's funny in regards to like Airbnb regulation. It's all about money. So, all in the news, New York City, I guess a year ago, give or take.
Yeah.
Said, okay, no more Airbnbs or whatever the regulation was. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And there's only one group that benefits from that. Instead of staying at Airbnb, they'll stay in a hotel. And the hotels have actually just I forget the stat. It was like in New York City, rent has been sky high, but also hotel ADRs and hotel occupancy has been sky high. So that's all it is hotels getting with the government and creating some type of back end. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours, and all right, get rid of Airbnbs, and hotels go up. So, do you do most of your new construction out on the east side of Tampa and Brandon, Plant City, or kind of all over?
All over, honestly. We work through some properties in Wesley Chapel, Dade City, Clearwater. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, there's less development here on the Pinellas County side, but I think it is growing there too.
Yeah.
I just think it's more in, I guess you could say, South Tampa. In downtown Tampa?
Yeah, like it's going to continue to blow up the more north you go. I mean, even up into Hernando and whatnot is going to continue to grow. Because in Pinellas, because you have peninsula and there's not enough land and it's expensive land, where you get into Pasco County, especially southern Pasco and the more like the Mitchell High School area and then the Wiregrass, really that central to east side of Pasco. I think it's going to continue to blow up.
Agreed.
Since you started, call it 13 months ago, what's been the biggest change in the market in the past 13 months since you started to where we are now?
I think like you just mentioned, the inventory. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's been really shifting. Mm-hmm. I know that there's been this pause and not uncertainty, if you will, but I think that now that people are starting to see the inventory come through, there's more opportunity, so it's kind of shifting into a buyer's market.
I think what's interesting, you see all these these news articles and pieces being done of supply in the market increasing dramatically right across the door. And like, I agree that's the case in general across the country, but there's also some places, which is even like, people put Tampa Bay into this whole certain piece of pie where you can't put Tampa Bay into. There's a very different between 100%. Brandon and St. Pete and then Largo and Dunedin and Plant City and obviously Tampa, because there's certain honey holes that short-term rental investors like in Pinellas County. I'll protect our investors by not saying those honey holes are, but like you can't find a property there. No. Like it's gonna. One last week, it was like 18 offers on it. Like Jeez. It was silly.
Yeah,
you can't find that. But in downtown Tampa, that might not be the case, and so it's interesting. Before real estate, you were in the fitness space. What were you doing there?
So I was the district manager for Crunch Fitness.
Okay.
So I ran a couple of their locations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very different from real estate.
Well, actually, very similar in ways. Yeah. The onboarding process that they do is phenomenal, and it was an easier transition in that as far as structure. And then calls, like we get rejected every day.
Yeah.
So to be on the floor to do that, they're actually doing it in your face. With real estate, they just do it over the phone.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a little different, but similarities in a way.
And then what's your collective look like right now in terms of a team?
Yeah. So currently right now we have 4. We're a team of 4. We just brought on our assistant. She's amazing. So definitely helping us build as much as we possibly can. But yeah, we got rock stars on my team right now.
And how'd you come up with a Feliciano collective?
So I keep hearing the like groups and all that jazz, and I wanted to do something different. Just like in my social media, I didn't want to do the boring home tours. So I wanted to do something that was collaborative. So collective is kind of what kind of dawned on me a little bit. Plus, it helped that the website domain for Feliciano Group was like $7,000.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no.
We buy domains all the time. Like, I have like a list of domains for like companies that I want to start that I haven't even started yet, just because the domain's like $12 a year. So I'm like, I want to buy it before it goes to like ridiculous amounts.
It jumps right up.
Yeah,
yep.
Because I noticed or I found out like a lot of the pricing on those goes up via how much they're being searched. So like if you search. All right, my dog's name is Moose. So I love moose.com if I wanted to buy that for whatever reason. And then, 1,000 other people were searching that. Like someone's going to go in and scoop it and buy it and then increase the price and just sell it off. That's how those work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's cool. Like, I don't even know how they figure out like
yeah, right. What's the algorithm behind that?
Yeah. One thing that's helped you, let's talk about social media. Obviously that's how I found out about you. You just popped up on one of my recommended reels because I guess being a real estate guy and being in Tampa Bay, the algorithm is hooked on that. When did you start your Instagram page? Obviously, it's probably right around April. And then how have you scaled it to the point that you're at now?
Yeah, so I started the page. It was my personal page, but then I was like posting maybe once a year. Like if you go back, you could actually see it. Yeah. I was really bad with it. And then I want to say like within month 1 or 2, I just decided to really just take it serious because I knew the big picture, if you will, right? How many views you can get. If I have 1,000 views, that's 1,000 people looking at one property. Yeah. So really just started to hit the ground running from there. And so I would say by June-ish, it was really when I was posting consistently. And I've had a lot of fun with it, the transition now. Cool. Yeah.
And then how has that made the biggest impact on you?
So seeing kind of like this relationship in itself, like where people could have an idea of who you are and getting a taste of what you represent in a sense, and being in the public. Obviously, Tampa is such a large city, but it is a small city in a sense, especially in this industry where people know each other. I think that's the coolest part is getting to feel to know people a little bit better. And then too, it's been helping me get a couple deals because people are finding me on social media and representing the buyer in that capacity too. So if I'm posting a listing, I can represent both sides.
If I was gonna, there's listeners out there, they might not be, maybe they're in Tampa Bay, but there's a lot of listeners that are in other real estate markets in the country. If they wanted to start from scratch and grow their real estate brand on social media, what kind of tips and tricks would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, first tip is quality over everything. Like sometimes people say post every day, which that is a factor, but it's not the main factor. I think the quality of videos that you're trying to do. Second, understand your brand. Like what makes you different from every other realtor that's doing videos out there today. I think it's vital in the sense of creating the identity. So if someone looks at your video, they know that's you or that's your team, whatever that looks like. And have fun with it. Like show personality. Don't be house education, house tour, and like that's it. Like show family, show what you're doing throughout the days, what shops you're going to, what restaurants you're going to. Like show your city, be proud of it.
One thing that I talked to our team about and one of our local realtors and really everybody is like no matter how big we get or how big they get or, you know, or even how big you get, I think it's very important to never push anybody aside, because you never know what they could turn into. It's funny, when we first started, I was reaching out to like, it hasn't really worked out for us, but a way that a lot of management companies grow is through relationships with realtors. Mm-hmm. So I was reaching out, I won't say who it was, but I was reaching out to a bunch of some of the big dogs locally. Mm-hmm. And then one of them was so kind of stuck up and just like brushed me aside. And what's funny is, dude, like 2 weeks ago, I won't even say if it's a he or a she, but that person reached back out. It's like, hey, saw your success. And I was like, nah, bro. Like, no.
So, like funny story, same concept.
Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
When I first started, I guess one of an extra tip, if we will, I wanted to reach out to the top agents to see what they're doing and what their day of success is. So I wanted to emulate that, not ask questions, just like watch them move. And I reached out to, I want to say about 3 or 4 people, and left me on red.
Yeah.
And to now they actually follow me, or we actually have conversations.
Yeah, that person reached out, and I think I even said something. I was like very professional about it. I was like, hey, given that 2 years ago we were nobody, you don't want anything to do with us. I don't want anything. I didn't say it that way, but I was like, I don't want anything to do with you. But I actually, even outside of that's every business in my opinion, because I was telling you before, the previous business we sold was a high school sports fundraising company. Mm-hmm. And it was nationwide, but we had really boxed out any competition from Tampa. But our thing was like, everybody wants to work with Plant High School. Everybody wants to work with Newsom High School, you know, and then Pinellas, they want to work with Palm Harbor and Eastlake, all the nice high schools. But we would on purpose work with one to give back to the community, and like working with the high schools, like even if we weren't making money, because, you know, like for example, I don't want to throw any high schools under the bus, so I won't say a name, but like any, you know, non-Plant high school, right?
Yeah.
You never know if that coach is going to be the head coach at Plant football one day.
Agreed.
You know, like is that especially the high school sports landscape in Florida, coaches don't get paid anything, so they're constantly changing. You never know when the coach of so and so is going to go to somewhere else. So we always worked with, like, even if we weren't making much money, we're like, you know, most companies around the country, they were only working with the top 20 football teams, you know, in the market. And so, but that's the reason. We're always like, when we did events, we always invited them. Like, we're going to start an event. I want you to come. We're going to start it June 18th. It's going to, we tinkered with it. March of last year, then we did a yacht party for Christmas.
There you go.
But do a monthly event. And like, we're talking about who to invite. And it's like this, it's kind of first come, first serve. I don't care if you're a student at Tampa, because that student at Tampa could turn into the next big thing.
It's the truth, and it kind of goes into. Are you familiar with Ed Milet? Power One More.
Yeah.
And I kind of insinuate that into, like, you are one conversation away, one connection away, one direct message away from someone that could potentially change your life. So if you treat it in that regard, the opportunities kind of arise.
That's cool. Yeah, we haven't gone public. It'll be public this week. So by the time we release this, it'll be public. Yeah. So June 18th, Station House.
I'll be there.
Yeah, 250 people. It'll be capped. My business partner, Michael's coming.
Nice.
So once he puts it out, it'll get booked out. And then, it's just going to be more just like a meetup, hang out, and talk shop and meet people.
Here for it. So it's exciting.
When you recruit like team members to your team, like, what are you looking for in that individual? What do you think kind of drives just the success of your team?
For sure.
What's up, you guys? I wanted to introduce to you our done-for-you Airbnb investing service called B&B Turnkey that has massive tax implications. It's basically an investing service that allows you to invest in cash-flowing Airbnbs and not do any of the work. It's best explained in 3 phases. Number 1, we find, analyze, and underwrite the property. In phase 2, we handle all the interior design and construction. And then phase 3, we manage the property on the back end. The best part is most of our clients qualify for the short terminal loophole of the IRS tax code. This allows for average clients to write off over $200,000 in depreciation on their tax bill. For more information, click the link in the description to connect with our team. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode.
There's a couple things, really. One of them we call MAC. So it's mindset, adaptability, and collaboration, right? So those are the three things as far as main traits. Another component that we really, really look for is someone that doesn't, who is not looking for instant gratification. Obviously, in the real estate world, there is no instant gratification. So to have someone that can have the patience but still have the work ethic to want more, I think is vital. And who's also not afraid to get rejected. So getting into real estate or even just transitioning industries, I knew I needed to shift the mindset, right? And one of those things where it's like how I'm having conversations are a little bit different now, or the way that I approach people are a little bit different now, right? And so knowing that component is having a really strong mentality towards real estate or just in general, because obviously every day is not the same. Every client is not the same. Every deal is not the same. So to have that is important. And then the same thing with that adaptability. You got to roll with the punches, if you will.
Yeah.
And when people could adjust and not stress, right? And they could just be problem solvers and be proactive, I think that's vital.
Yeah.
And then collaboration goes with the name, right? In the sense of my team is simply put in the sense of my win is their win, vice versa. Like if they're posting something, I'm posting it. And it's just because I want them to see their wins as well. Yeah. And so we all work together. Like no one's going to be toxic. No one's going to have a jealousy aspect of it. Like it's just everyone elevating each other.
I like all three of those. We talk about certain traits that individuals have to have on the podcast all the time. We'll talk through even more probably on this show. But like, I like all three of those. From a mindset perspective, I forgot who it was, but like someone said before, like you are who your thoughts are. And like, I think about like one of the main reasons that I've been successful is because now there's pros and cons to this, but like, it is constantly on my mind.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's cliche to say like, oh, it's not a job, it's a hobby, but like, it's freaking fun. It's a game almost where it's like, all right, how do I win this game? And okay, we do this, we can do that. And now I try to like, when I'm with my kids, like, hey, hack I've been doing lately, you might like is, it's really worked out well for me. When I go to sleep, whenever that is, I leave my phone in the kitchen plugged up. And so, I used to be just on my phone scrolling, I'll get in bed at 9:30 before I know it's 11:30 and I'm still scrolling. I'm like, this is silly. And so, and then I'll hop in bed, chat with my wife, read a book, whatever it may be. And then I'll kind of hold off. The reason I do the kitchen is because like I'm actually going to try and move it to like the opposite room of the house.
Okay.
Because what I've noticed is like I get up and go to the kitchen, first I had to check my phone. I'm like, all right, I got to stop that. I need to pay attention to my kids versus check my phone. I'm going to move it to the opposite end of the house here soon. And so like it would take some effort to actually go through and get it because it's tough from a mindset perspective. If it's everything you think about, which is a pro and a con. The pro is that's why we've been successful is because no one's working harder than I am at it. They may think, the people on our team maybe think they're working hard. They ain't working harder than I am. But then the con is, I want to be and I am by all means a very, very, I try to be a good father, right? And
having that balance.
Yeah, active.
Yeah.
And balance is hard. I think of balance. I don't think balance is possible consistently. I think balance is seasonal. When you and I were just starting our companies, like I walked away from our past company, $500,000 a year, like consistent, like that ain't going to change. But I wanted to do this but it took had a newborn and a 2-year-old. Wow. Right. And like, there were 6 months, we started a company. There's the first 6 months, no money's coming in, right? You're putting any income you're putting back into the business. So it was a risk of like, if someone ever, in our team was like, oh, Elliott, what? Like, all right, well, hey, you go, run away from $500,000 a year and go start something if you want to.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's not easy by any means.
You did the same thing for.
Yeah. I mean, with Crunch, I had a 6-figure career, right? I was making 6 figures and go to zero it's not the easiest decision, but yet you know that if this is the right decision and you're doing the right steps, it's going to be worth it.
I would add to adaptability, like, adapt and I would add overcome to that in the messaging. Like, you gotta adapt and overcome. There's gonna be, I mean, you and I get hit with fires all day, every day, right? It's like,
Yes.
I mean, as the CEO of the business as big as we are, I'm just the chief firefighter is all I am at this point, which is good. I mean, I can focus on, when they get to me, there's not that many actually. So therefore I can put them out when they come, but most of my time I just spend on growing the business.
Yeah.
That's good. Collaboration's huge, man. I mean, the old school saying, there's no I in team. And like, as you grow a business and, it's doing millions and millions, there's only 24 hours in a day,
Agreed.
And so even if I didn't even sleep, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
So therefore you're delegating, and that team has to be the best of the best. We talk about it all the time in our all hands calls, like A players only on our team.
Have to.
And like, I was talking to them last week, what are y'all, Gen Zs? Yeah. So Gen Zs get a bad rap for like not working hard or whatever. And like, maybe that's the case, but I think that's BS.
Okay.
Like, dude, I mean, the individuals in here, they're hungry. They want to build something special, not just for our company, but for themselves.
Agreed.
And so
I think it has to drive off with purpose though.
Yeah.
Right. If there's no clear vision, people kind of running 100 miles per hour might be in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
At least you have a clear vision with people that want to build something with you, not for you. And I think that's where the difference comes in with people, because sometimes people, especially entrepreneurs, they feel like their employees should care as much as they do, and that's not always the case. But two, it's also like it has to be purpose driven. Like we're humans. Like we want to be service driven.
One thing we did last week, I was doing a video. We had a bunch of new hires, and we've never done, and I want to do better at, more of like an onboarding process. We're over 100 employees now, and it's like, all these businesses, and if you work in one business, you might not even really know what the other business does. So I did a video, we recorded it, and I talked to the whole team out here. I went through every business. So when someone onboards to another business, they can know the whole entire company and the whole entire collective.
Yep.
At the end of that, we did a Q&A. And if you're listening and you have a large company, it was awesome. I'm just like, hey, it was like 45 minutes or not even 30 minutes of a Q&A. And they asked some really good questions. And I built this business of like, there's no secrets, right? It's like nothing we're doing is like rocket science or like heart surgery or like, people's investments are extremely important. But at the same time, I can teach ask a question, I'll give you the answer because I want them to learn.
For sure.
And so everything, especially our business, everything's kind of cross collected where like, home, B&B construction and B&B lending, they had the same client in the end. And so it's important for everybody to know the business, where if a B&B construction client is talking to one of our contractors about a lending issue they're having, hey, no big deal. We got B&B lending right here in-house. That's our sales pitch a lot, because like having it all in-house with W-2 teams, like they only work for us, the quality control's a lot better because like we can all kind of make sure that the QC's there. What's next for the collective of your end? Right
now, we've been working on a project. It's called Hotel Aura. It's a project downtown Tampa. It's a 658 unit condo hotel.
I think I saw that one. Is it like half hotel, half And you can. I think I saw an ad. It was like you can Airbnb some of it or something. Yeah.
So one of the only condo hotels in Tampa that is actually approved for short-term rentals. So going into the space of what you guys are doing already, it's like they're almost embodying that, right? Because like you said, there's sometimes this negative notation, but it's like that is the wave. This is the right way to do it. And people can basically get a 5-star experience within that hotel. But I guess people can purchase the condo hotel in itself and see what it's really like.
And what's your role in all that?
Really just bringing buyers. I have a lot of either relationships or clients that have been interested. And once they do the VR experience, once they do the presentation, it's kind of like a no-brainer for them. So I'm just kind of really, I actually love it. Me and my wife actually invested ourselves.
Oh, cool.
So we bought a unit. And so if I was willing to put my own money where my mouth is.
What are those going for?
So it varies. Right now, studios go for around $728. And the presidential penthouse right now is going for $10.8.
Is it? Yeah.
So something light.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw there was a similar new high rise in St. Pete going up, and I was looking at the on Zillow, and it was like selling the penthouse. It was like some crazy amount, but it was sick though, dude.
Was it 400 Central?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're up there.
Yeah, that view and that's a huge balcony. Mm-hmm. I mean, that balcony had to be 2,000 square feet. Like, that thing was huge.
Yeah, they're definitely paying for views.
What, in your opinion, like what's been the difference between like the culture in Florida compared to New Jersey? Because you were born in New Jersey, right?
Oh yeah, I moved to Florida when I was 14, and I worked even at that age.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law had a pizzeria, so I was working there for a little bit. But I think there's two different things. One, city life is city life, but I think the people are a little bit different, and I think the work ethic is a little different compared to up north and down here. And I think that's been the biggest transition for me, and especially when I lived in Cape Coral, it was still being developed. So going from every day something happening just a block away from me to now I have to drive 15 minutes to get gas.
Yeah.
That was the biggest culture shock for me. But then moving to Tampa, it made me feel a little bit more at home with Jersey. My
wife's best friend and my sister used to live in New York City, in Soho. And I agree with you. I would never live in New York City, but it was freaking awesome to just like walk out the door. Like I feel like you can never run out of things to do.
No.
Yeah.
No. There's always something. There's diversity in there. Their food is phenomenal in every aspect of it. Like you just get to enjoy it in that regard. But living in it, it's the hustle and bustle that most people think they could achieve. But
nah. I was just telling you earlier, we moved like it was like 4 or 5 acre plot of land up in East Lake that we're moving to. That's what I want. I want the ranch style living versus, but it's cool to visit
for sure.
Like I would go.
It's the dream.
Right now is a good time. Not quite too hot.
Yeah.
But I love going to New York City. It's cool. It's like the concrete jungle.
Yep.
Where dreams are made of. I wrote that song.
I like that. Okay. I like that.
In terms of, and you kind of already mentioned Mac, but like with the podcast being Successful DNA, like what are some other traits that either that you have inside of you or you've seen other people that have been successful around you have that have made them successful?
This is a loaded question, but are you familiar with Champions Are Broken?
No.
So Eric Thomas, hip hop preacher.
Yeah. Okay. I listened to Eric Thomas.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He ended up saying this, and Alex Hormozy was on a podcast recently kind of reiterating it, but it's saying that people tend to look at what qualities a champion has that maybe they don't possess, and it's not so much of what they don't have, it's what they lack, and that's an off button. Mm. And I feel like that's kind of where I embody, like we kind of talked about, like putting the phone down or doing stuff like that. I just don't stop. Mm-hmm. It's like relentless. And to a point where I will talk to whoever I need to. I'll have a conversation anywhere and everywhere, like networking aspects, off the street. And the reason being is my fear of failure is greater than my fear of rejection. Mm-hmm. And I think those two combined kind of make that success.
One thing I've noticed is like, it's hard to turn off. It's possible, but what's also equally as hard is turn it back on. Where we just went to a staycation just in Treasure Island for 2 weeks. And like, by all means, I was working the whole entire time, but not doing the 10-hour days. I was doing like 4 or 5 hours days. It was hard to scale it down to 4 or 5 hours, but then I was like, this ain't bad. I'm going to the beach, going to the pool, hanging with the kids. It was like the dream life. And then you got to, I was kind of itching to go back, but at the same time, I was itching to come back. But it was also, I got here, it was kind of like hard to get back into it. Just because I think it doesn't take long for your routine to change. When your routine changes, that kind of changes everything.
It does. Yeah. It's hard to get back into the momentum sometimes. So I get where you're coming from.
How do you balance in terms of kind of talk through it, but not in depth, just like your relationship with your wife and your son, and at the same time, being a good husband and a good father while maintaining a thriving business?
I feel like that's still a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
Right. Because the team is brand new, and obviously this industry is still brand new for me. So I'm still trying to almost like be a student in my calendar, and just trying to set boundaries and healthy boundaries for ourselves, whether that's like I don't get calls past a certain time, or we have like a day for ourselves to just do something, whether it's just not even actually do nothing and just sit at the couch. Like we're super good with quality time when it comes to that. As far as my son, like he's hitting the teenage years, so and he's about to start driving, so it's wild to me to think about that, him being on the streets.
Does he play sports?
No, he's actually in band.
Oh, cool.
He does a drum line with them, and
That's sick.
he's awesome.
Gotta be a top 5 movie. Drumline.
100%.
Gotta be up there.
They do these competitions, and we go to them and he kills it.
That's sick.
It's honestly, it's insane to watch. And he's passionate about it. So anything like that, I don't care if it's sports or not. If you're passionate about it, be good at it, you know?
Cool.
So it's cool to see. But as far as the balance, it's a learning curve, I think. I think it comes with any level of success, right? Because as you start to grow and build or have more employees, there's more problems, or there's new avenues, if you will, and now you're just trying to pivot that way again. So
we'll end with this. I've been ending the last couple podcasts with this. What does legacy mean to you? How would you define legacy? And then what do you want your legacy to be?
I love this question. So legacy to me is what people remember you for when you're gone. And I think that impact is everything. Like, how can I either impact the industry? How can I impact a life? How can I impact my family? Like, those are things to me where my name is everything. And I think that what people say about you when you're not in the room, I think that's also part of the legacy. So just being a good human, being a good person, being kind, I think those things are phenomenal traits for someone that's trying to build something bigger than themselves.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you for listening to another episode of the Elliott Caldwell Podcast on Successful DNA. Tito, where can they find more about you?
We're Tito.sellsit or the Feliciano Collective on Instagram, and also on our website.
Well, thanks, man. That was fun.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.